Welcome back to another episode of Dynasty Decisions, where we break down your Dynasty teams via our Flock Fantasy team review section. Of course, as always, if you guys want a chance to get your team reviewed, leave your Flock usernames down below in the comments, and we will send out a couple vouchers per episode for our code FSE users. If you use code Flock, Domain, or Land, unfortunately, we cannot send you a voucher, but let us know down below in the comments. And of course, paid submissions do skip the line over here. Quick housekeeping: Zach Mikowski and another CT something. We sent you a message because we could not pull up your review. Just make sure you respond to that. We sent you a voucher to resubmit because there was an issue with your submission. So let's move to CSmooth, first team of the video here, Danny. He is coming out of a 2-year rebuild, thinks it's finally contending time. This is one of the best feelings in Dynasty, as you and I both know. And any ideas for roster construction tips would be much appreciated. And it is a best ball league, he mentions here. Also submitted a trade idea. So we'll get to his buy sell hold report he's referring to.
Yeah. So more context as well, of course, like you said there, I am actually working on your buy sell hold report as we're currently speaking. So you can kind of get the inner workings of what we're kind of thinking it out. But I'll make sure you have your buy sell hold report about the time that this video is able to come out. Or, I mean, even beforehand. But regardless, as you'll see on the buy sell hold report, you have the perfect situation to turn this thing into a sustained contender long term. Obviously, we'll talk about some of the specific ideas that we have on that BSH. But overall, on the team review portion, what are your thoughts on the team and what are your main holding spots, anchor spots for this roster?
Yeah, I mean, knowing that you have a super flex best ball league, I would ideally like to have a better third quarterback than Anthony Richardson. At running back, I feel like you have really solid, let's say, RB3 through RB7 guys if you're a contending team, but you need to add in some top-end dudes, which it looks like you're about to do with the 101, the 105, and the 107. You'll probably come away with 2 running backs at minimum there. And then at wide receiver, I mean, you're pretty much good to go. Like, I don't even think you need anything there with Neighbors, with Puka, Marvin, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, even some of those deeper names going to give you some weeks like a QJ, a Wicks, somebody like that. And then Tucker Kraft. For me, I'm comfortable rolling into a contender with Tucker Kraft, Ben Sinnott, and Darnell Washington and Calcaterra, kind of like a tight end handcuff there. I think this is a really well-constructed team. You're basically a third quarterback and 2 really solid running backs and maybe another tight end, if possible, away from being a really competitive team.
Exactly. And I wrote down on the players to hold. Again, you will see that once you get your BSH. Obviously, you're not selling guys like, Malik Neighbors, Drake May, Puka Nacua. I also, on this roster, given the fact that you have 2 elite wide receivers here and it is a start 11, you're able to take on, quote unquote, the risk of Marvin Harrison Jr. here. And if he does establish himself, you will not only hold that number 1 wide receiver rank on the Flock Analyzer, but you're just going to be lapping the entire field. Like, if Marv lives up to the prospect profile that we had for him, your team is going to be at a situation where no other teams can really catch up to you. And then also the 101 is going to mix into the equation. Having 101, being able to add a guy like Ashton Genty, you have Josh Jacobs. Obviously, you could potentially fill out your running back depth, and that's maybe what we would look at with these other first-round picks. But, I mean, there's not much to critique, per se, on this team.
Yeah, and I think given where your picks are situated, too, I would feel really comfortable walking out of this class with Genty at 101. Ideally, like Cam Ward is there at 105 for you because I think he'd be a perfect, add in the third quarterback.
I think he's got too much investment in the quarterbacks to take Cam Ward here.
I would be totally fine taking Cam Ward at 105 with this team.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, if he's the best player available at 105, that's one thing. I honestly think in a best ball format, you can suffice with Drake May, Jordan Love, and especially considering Anthony Richardson will get a starting job this year more than likely. I think that can suffice for this year, not to mention outside of your future 2026 one, you have 3 high leverage liquidity picks here with the 101, the 105, and the 107. So I just don't think it's a pressing need right now, personally.
So for me in best ball formats, I like to go 4 quarterbacks deep so that you really win that position because obviously quarterbacks score the most in fantasy. Like on a given week, it's usually quarterback scoring at the top. So I would ideally like to have a guy like Anthony Richardson as my 4th quarterback and kind of see what he turns into at that point. Maybe that's just a philosophical difference between you and I. Personally, I would be very comfortable taking Cam Ward if he was there at 105. And also knowing that at 107, you're still going to get a really good running back prospect, probably a Judkins or a Henderson.
It's more so just the allocation of assets for me. I just think that's too strong to put into another quarterback, knowing you have May and Love. In fact, I would rather see if you can, if that's the case and you want to upgrade maybe your raw point equity at quarterback, seeing how much it would cost to go from Love to maybe one of the top guys.
Yeah, to me, I think his issue more is depth than it is. I like Drake May and Love as his top 2 quarterbacks. I think Richardson, you and I obviously disagree. I think he will lose his job this year.
I don't see it.
I think Daniel Jones will take over his job this season.
Okay, and then when it comes season, maybe you patchwork with a cheaper quarterback 3 like a Russell Wilson type. I just think allocating another 105 pick to the quarterback position when you have Drake May and Jordan Love feels almost redundant.
In best ball, it's better, in my opinion, because you never have to
It's
decide when
fine,
to
but
start these guys.
it's fine, but I'd rather get elite point equity at the other positions here. You still need an elite tight end. Go get a McBride. Go get a Brock Bowers. You still need another running back. Go get another running back next to the score. I just don't think that you should spend your resources at quarterback when you can completely revamp the rest of the roster.
Yeah, I think that's
With those
totally fine to
resources.
me. I just think the difference between a Cam Ward and your starting lineup to give you good weeks when, let's say, Love or May has a down week versus the point difference equity-wise between a Tucker Kraft and a tight end upgrade, I think it's a bigger difference because quarterbacks score more than tight ends in fantasy.
True, but how many times in this season do you think Cam Ward's going to enter his lineup?
Many times. That's how quarterbacks go.
If Anthony Richardson is starting 17 games this year, how many times?
He will not start 17 games. That's my whole premise of making this pick.
Okay, he starts 12 games.
I don't even think he'll start that many, personally.
Okay, let me rephrase this. If Love, May, and Richardson are starting quarterbacks on a given week, what is the likelihood that Cam Ward enters his lineup?
Pretty low. But you also then have the quarterback assets. It's not just about the point production.
I'm just saying in this specific situation, because he has so much value on this team, he has the opportunity to go buy the point production is kind of what I'm referencing.
Anyway,
I just think an elite tight end, especially in a full tight end premium, is more valuable to his team than Cam Ward. I really do.
Of course, yeah. And part of it is that I have Cam Ward ranked at 104, so him being at 105 would actually be a slight value for you there. Like, I mean, looking at some of these bottom teams, like this team really stands out to me as one that I would target. He's going to be motivated to move a tight end anyways because he has Kittle and Andrews, and you can go pick up a Mark Andrews or a George Kittle probably for like you're not going to have to give up the 105 or the 107 for one of those guys. Like you have tons of wide receiver depth. This guy might be looking for a young receiver. Maybe a Keon Coleman plus a small piece would get you to one of those tight ends.
It's funny you mentioned that because when I was working on his buy, sell, hold, I literally wrote anchor tight end 1. And the 3 guys that I was looking at in particular is if you wanted to spend up big, obviously the Bowers and the McBride would be in your range. But Kittle was the one I noticed right away. If that guy's in 12th and he's already got Andrews, who's stopping you from saying, hey, listen, I'll give you Keon Coleman, like you said, plus maybe another young piece to go get George Kittle off your team. You're not really in a position where that point equity is going to serve you well. Because, I mean, maybe this guy thinks he's still contending because he's got aging players, but come week 3, week 4, if he's 0-2 or sorry, that doesn't even make sense. If he's 1-2, if he's 0-3 and he realizes, okay, my team's not scoring a lot of points, you're able to get that done.
Yeah, and maybe you even have to move down from 107 to 110 to try and maybe make up some of the value difference or something like that. I would personally be willing to do that. Like this guy too, I mean, he has Hawkinson. You can even patchwork a Travis Kelce for a year or two if you really wanted to get cheap at that position. He might just be looking to get rid of Kelce if he's trying to rebuild. This guy has Njoku in addition to Bowers. That would make a lot of sense as well. Like Cade Otton might cost you nothing too. Like you could even just throw like a 3rd round pick at him for Cade Otton to help because in a best ball format, like having Tucker Kraft and Cade Otton get most of your weeks will probably be just fine.
No, I agree. I will say though, I would be intrigued at what the cost of Bowers would be from this guy, knowing that he's probably thinking in his head, okay, I have Njoku, I have Otton, maybe Bowers is more easily attainable from this guy because of that. And I mean, outside of Devontae Adams, what does he have at wide receiver? That is your leverage point here. You have so many good wide receivers. If you wanted to use one of your top end wide receivers, how much on top of AJ Brown can get you to Brock Bowers realistically? Would it cost you the 105?
Yeah, I don't even think you'd have to give up that. I mean, maybe he would give you something in return or something if you did give up the 105. But I think because he has Bowers and because he might be looking to rebuild, I think he'll be giving away Njoku and Cade Otton personally. Like I think those guys would be dirt cheap for you. So a lot of options as far as trade stuff. That's what the buy, sell, hold report's for. Obviously, Danny will send you some more of those. But for the most part, this is like you have the name listed. Trust the process. Like you know exactly what you're doing here. You're going to be spending those draft picks, maybe moving down. Potentially, I think 105 and 107 are leverage points that if you wanted to move down and take one of the top tight ends in this class, you could do that. If you wanted to move down and maybe get some wide receiver help or some other running back help and pick up maybe an extra 2nd rounder out of it or something, that would make some sense for you too.
Yep. Yeah, and again, I'm not fully hard pressed to just maneuver all of my wide receiver depth across the board, but I will say you are afforded the position to be able to do so. Again, it is a best ball, so having a ton of useful wide receivers versus a lineup league is definitely more valuable. However, if your wide receiver equity can get that spread across the board. Like we said, maybe one of your wide receivers can get you an Njoku type. Maybe it's Keon Coleman for Njoku or Michael Pittman for Njoku, or, some of the options that we kind of mentioned. You have the affordability with this roster, given how strong you are depth-wise at wide receiver, to be able to play around with your depth across the board.
Yeah, personally, last thing I'll say on this, then we can move on to the next team, is at quarterback and tight end specifically, what I like doing in best ball formats is building out 3 to 4 solid options that can just kind of ping pong weeks together and allocating the majority of my high end assets to running back and wide receiver. That's personally what I like doing. When it comes to best ball, I think the quarterback position sometimes can be a little devalued, especially outside of the real difference making, Hurts, Allen type of guys. So I like kind of making that up in numbers personally.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. You saw how I approached the quarterback position actually in the recent startup that we did that was a best ball.
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, very, very good situation. I mean, you're the highest ranked team in terms of the flock analyzer there. We can move on to Andrew, I believe is what's up.
I was just going to say, and on the buy sell hold, don't you worry. It's going to be completely formal. We're going to have everything listed out for you, and I'll get that to you as soon as possible.
For sure. So, and I believe he'll be watching this after, so that might have been a redundant comment, but yeah. Marlboro Gods. He's a smoker by the sounds of it. Yep. We have him as the number 1 team, according to my ranking specifically. He said he's been trying to get the 101, but the guy who has 101 is delusional, trying to trade away Drake May straight up for it or whatever. Currently has an offer DK for the 109. Also been talking to the Josh Jacobs owner, same trade. So 109 for Josh Jacobs. And he said away Garrett Wilson for Laporta and Evans. So we'll talk about the trades in a second. We'll take a look at the team itself, trying to capitalize on my quarterbacks and picks at the moment. So what he's got going in a 2 quarterback, 12 team start 10, Burrow, May, Penix, Goff. Obviously, like he said, he's trying to capitalize. Yep. I would presume on Penix or Goff at this position. And then he's pretty weak at running back outside of some depth pieces. Wide receiver is pretty strong. Having Laporta and Pitts is a pretty solid tight end core. And then you do have a lot of capital to make up for it with 105, 106, 109, 205, and 210.
Am I delusional if I say I'm perfectly fine throwing literally all of those picks at running back this year?
I don't think that's outrageous. I mean, maybe you wanted to throw one of the 205 or 210 at a wide receiver just to give you, like maybe a Jaden Higgins at 205 gives you a little bit more depth there or something like that. But yeah, I'd be cool. You walk out of this draft with Trevion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, and Caleb Johnson in the first round. I think you'd be pretty comfortable with that.
For sure. And then maybe at that point, if you do notice like a Loveland or something like that fell to like the 202, you have the affordability to go get another tight end. But realistically, like you're playing literally with house money here. Because as soon as you address the running back position, you're automatically, in my opinion, the top contender in this league.
Yeah, exactly. I had a team that was very, very similar to this, that I made a trade sending off Michael Penix for the 106 to reallocate some of my assets, because I think it was almost exactly the same quarterback core. I think I had Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, and Bo Nix already. So I sent off Michael Penix for the 106 because my biggest needs were at running back and I believe at tight end as well in that league. So being able to reallocate one of your resources away from the quarterback position, and 2, maybe you could sell Jared Goff for the 110 or 111 or something, or maybe you can sell Michael Penix for the 107 or 108. Or like I personally would hold Burrow and May. I probably wouldn't mess around with those guys. But if you can reallocate that asset into either a competitive wide receiver or running back or a draft pick in that range, I think I'd be really comfortable doing that.
Yeah, because honestly, I'm cool with being even cheaper at quarterback 3 when you have Burrow and May. And the fact that you have 2 guys that are expensive quarterback 3/low-end quarterback 2s right now gives you a good ability to potentially remaneuver some of that value on this roster. Because if you can turn the value of the asset that is Michael Penix, the value of the asset that is Jared Goff, and whether it's getting more liquidity, turning them into pick capital to potentially make a big move and maybe upgrade. I mean, at that point, if you wanted to upgrade Laporta to Bowers, if you wanted to upgrade Harrison into one of the top, like CeeDee Lamb types, if you want to upgrade, JSN, you have the affordability because of all the value on this roster. I just think personally, because you have so much invested at quarterback, if you can maneuver the Penix and Goff values across the board, your team is going to be a complete juggernaut.
Yeah, and I have Michael Penix ranked. This is based on my rankings. I have Michael Penix ranked at quarterback 21, but he is not quarterback 21 on the open market. Most people have him around the 15 to 18 range. So if you could straight up maneuver him even too, one thing that I would be really comfortable doing, it's a start 10, and Mike Evans and those guys are good options for you at wide receiver. But I actually really do think you're another solidified wide receiver.
Go buy a dog.
Romo Dunze, Garrett Wilson territory, maybe in terms of that caliber. Maybe you can get there with Penix. Like if you sold Penix straight up for one of those guys.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I honestly think personally though, the best route would be using Penix with another roster piece or pick to go and buy a big dog. Because I do think like depth wise, you're perfectly fine except for at running back. Go buy a monster. Like, dude, I understand. I mean, like literally Bucky and Justin is just too hard, too tempting not to at least make an offer on, to be honest. Especially knowing that
Yeah.
guy's got all the picks in the world.
This guy doesn't have many quarterbacks either. He's got Flowers and Olave staring at you. You could definitely go after one of those guys. Maybe even Goff just gets you. Like, what if Goff got you Olave straight up? Like, it's very possible that that would be the case. This guy's got a weak quarterback core, but a strong wide receiver core. McConkey, A.J. Brown, and Garrett Wilson are clean for the pickings here. If you wanted to offer him, Penix or something to give him a young quarterback option.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Also, shout out Brock and Hall Torture. Did I read there? Brock and Hall Torture. Yeah, that's a great name. Shout out.
This is I will say the funniest thing about transitioning our dynasty decisions to this format versus the other format is that you guys have some absolutely unhinged league mates in terms of what names they actually come with. But anyways, this is a very strong team. I would say you're one more really solid wide receiver because it's a start 10 away from really competing. Your tight end core is fine as is. I actually really like the way it's constructed. Laporte is a little bit undervalued. Pitts is, again, Pitt, maybe you'll get something out of him, maybe you won't. Jatavian Sanders, a good third tight end for you. Your running back, if these were your running back 4 through 7 or 4 through 8 or whatever, would be perfect for a contender. Your quarterback, if you can reposition one of those assets, whether it's Penix or Goff, I lean towards Penix because he's worth more, but maybe Goff is worth a lot too.
Hear me out. I'm perfectly comfortable selling both if you can turn them into liquidity and spread them across the board, knowing that you can get a cheaper quarterback 3. If you know you can get a cheaper quarterback 3, and again, you don't have to do that right now. You can more so do that entering week 1 when you have more information. But I mean, let's look at is Aaron Rodgers going to sign with the Steelers? I think that'd be a really good direction to go. Obviously, I mentioned the name Russell Wilson. I think that'd make a ton of sense. Gino would make a ton of sense. Like literally, if you can take all the value that you have at that quarterback 3 and 4 spot and then just get cheaper at quarterback 3, it opens you up across the board to go make some upgrades.
Yeah, this guy's a perfect example of it. Can you send this guy Penix for Odunze straight up? And maybe he'll throw Russell Wilson on top of it?
Yeah, that would be the direction I'm looking at.
Exactly. So again, very well constructed team. You're obviously in pretty good shape here. The other thing you could do is potentially trade down, collect more picks, and just throw assets galore at the running back and wide receiver position in this year's class. But you already have a couple of really high valued assets. I actually would probably not be opposed to seeing how much it would cost you even to get up to 101 with this team. With the 105, 106, 109, does it cost you 105 and 109 to get up to 101? Like it might if the guy needs more assets or whatever. So you could definitely try and see how much it would cost to go up and potentially get Genty as well.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about, let's quickly go through some of the offers that he put out because he did say that in the initial. So let's go to the top here. Been trying to get 101, but he's delusional. Right. So it doesn't sound like he's going to be able to get Genty. Like May for straight up, absolutely fucking not. You're keeping Drake May every single time. Offer DK for the 109. I'm keeping 109. I mean,
I think that's a fair offer. I've gotten a little bit higher on DK since the Steelers trade and the contract that he's being sent.
I'm not there.
Like I personally would rather do that than the Jacobs deal of the two of them.
I'm doing neither because I'm looking at 109 as one of like the last of the first rounders that I can get a Henderson, Judkins, Bird, and Igbuka type. Because right after that, like usually we notice, like, again, I'm also counting Hunter into that mix. I think that's probably the difference from some people out there is maybe they haven't counted Hunter. At the 109, I mean, if you're doing the math there,
you might get Hunter with the 109, depending on what happens.
Well, would you be able to look yourself in the mirror if you traded Hunter for DK Metcalf?
No. And I would personally, I wouldn't even be able to look myself in the mirror if I traded a Emeka Egbuka for DK Metcalf, which I think is very likely the type of player that's there for you at 109.
Exactly. It's like, even if that was Caleb Johnson, I would rather have Caleb Johnson than DK Metcalf, to be honest, assuming he gets, second round capital in a potential good spot. But yeah, that's just
and then, where I'm at like there. You said, he sent away Garrett Wilson and for Laporta and Evans. I think that was a fine move. I don't really love just buying into a guy who's literally my favorite player in NFL history, but is old, and he immediately puts you kind of in a competitive window like that because your team didn't have to do that move in terms of being into a competitive window right away because you still have young quarterbacks and so on and so forth. But I think you kind of understand what you need to do and capitalize on your quarterbacks and whatnot. I think I would have preferred to get like Garrett Wilson for Laporta and a younger receiver. Maybe you get I'm trying to think who'd be in that range. Maybe a Josh Downs or something instead.
I mean, I don't mind it because if we do go down, like you're just getting like pure point equity when you already have your young core built. Like I don't mind it because Evans is your 4. If Evans became like your 2 or your 3, okay, at that point I would just hold Garrett Wilson because of the youth factor. But when he's your 4 and you also have McMillan, so theoretically, if Evans were to fall off, maybe you're banking on McMillan taking a step up. I don't necessarily hate that move, especially knowing that you got Laporta. Again, you're higher on Laporta than even I am, but knowing how this roster is constructed, being able to now relegate Kyle Pitts to your tight end too, definitely probably lifted a lot of, I don't want to say confusion, but concern off your head.
Yeah, exactly. Easiest path here is you take Henderson, Egbuka, and Judkins with your 3 first-round picks or something. And then at 205, 210, throw another dart at the wide receiver position, maybe throw another dart at Cam Scattaboo or Bishal Tootin or Dylan Sampson, and you're going to be off and rolling. So let's move on to the next team, which is from a faithful submitter here in Ginger Ale. And I believe both of us are in this league. Not only are both of us in this league, I won this league last year or this year, and you won this league last year. So
yeah, we are the last 2 champions.
Yes. So Danny has the best team in the league, according to this this analyzer.
Your rankings.
I had number 5, apparently, based on my own rankings, and I won the championship this year because of point equity, I guess. I mean, in all the players that I have on this team. I had Saquon, so that's a good part of it. And Jonathan Taylor had a monster run in the playoffs. So that's why I won.
I will quote AJ. He said, "Let me get a voucher for the Tone Setters League, and then you and Bush can go over your teams too." So he did say in the request, if you want to show the context for what he's got and kind of like what we're working with too.
Yeah. So AJ's team, as you guys can see, I think he had obviously need running back help, but otherwise happy with his team. And of course, you and I are in this league, so we know that it is generally pretty easy to get running back help in this league. Of any of the positions, it's hard to get draft capital, hard to get wide receivers. Tight ends are super easy to get as well. No one seems to care about tight ends in this league. But running back,
did AJ get McBride?
Yeah, I don't actually know that. He must have gotten. I mean, he has Kyle Pitts in every league that he's in, so maybe he moves Pitts plus something.
Makes sense.
But anyways, looking at the team, like he said, he obviously needs running back help. I mean, Kirk Cousins, Will Levis, and Rattler and Milton are his quarterback depth behind Kyler Murray and Bo Nix as well. So he could definitely use some help in that direction. But the tough thing for AJ is that he doesn't have any draft capital this year to be able to address the running back position. So, I mean, I do know of a team that may have just won the championship that happens to have a nice surplus of running backs who would be very interested in some of your wide receiver talent. Maybe his name is Bush League. I don't know. He has Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, Chuba Hubbard, Tyrone Tracy, and maybe could use another wide receiver for his roster. So AJ, maybe you'd be interested in selling me one Christopher Godwin or George Pickens for one of those running backs.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, if we go up to Mr. FSE, I don't know why it says FSE. Is that my team name in this league?
It was, because I remember when we started this league, you and I were going to share a team.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm a little weaker at tight end, but aside from that, kind of like where I'm at here.
Yeah, and I mean, Danny's got an absolute fearsome 3 stack of wide receivers that is propping his value up big time because they're obviously studs. But yeah, this is pretty easy. This is a league market, AJ, where wide receivers go for a lot, running backs don't go for a lot, and you need running backs and have a surplus of wide receivers. So I think it would make quite a bit of sense to a team like myself or a team like, trying to think who else has a good running back core. Uncle Tony here has got a good running back core. I mean, he just has pretty much Jahmyr Gibbs propping that up, but yeah.
You know what we could do for the first time ever on a DD episode, and we could float it out. Again, we don't have to agree to anything right now, but I just realized I had one Christopher Olave as a big time depth piece. Like, what is he listed on my thing? He's my 4th. Yeah. I mean, like, depending on what could happen here, we could potentially talk about an Olave type of deal for a running back, maybe even after the call.
For me?
Yeah. We could figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, that
because I just noticed it on the analyzer. I'm like, yeah, because I didn't realize he was in my IR.
Yeah, and I don't have so fun fact about this league, I've never used my own first round pick in it. And that's typically, it's weird because I'm not usually the type of person to trade away my first round pick very often, but in this league specifically, I've just kept trading away my first round pick because it ends up being super valuable. I traded away 2 years ago for Jonathan Taylor, and I got Baker Mayfield on top of Jonathan Taylor because he was just a throw-in at the time.
Dude, story time, I was sick because I had a deal the whole time. And last second, I got a message. Oh, actually, I want this. So he added more to the deal. I said no. And then he accepted a lesser deal from you. So I'm like, that's my own tangent. Sharkbait, I know you're watching this right. Or I don't know if you're watching this right now, but sure, taking my deal. have taken my deal. Anyways.
Yeah, I got Jonathan Taylor and Baker Mayfield for I think it was the 111 or
Biscuits.
112. So it was a late pick.
And Marvin Mims.
I think I may have given him Marvin Mims or something like that on top of it. And then this year I needed wide receiver help because Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL. And thank God I made this deal because I literally won the championship because of it. And I sold my first round pick for Devontae Smith. So again, I'm not usually the type of person that sells my first round pick, but I think Devontae Smith is worth a first round pick in Dynasty, especially considering it was literally 112.
Yeah. Hey, so what was the deal? It was what, Fields and 112 for Smith?
Yeah, it was Fields and 112 for Smith and a third, the 312
Got
that I got, or not the 312, sorry. I got a third and 26, which I think I eventually ended up selling.
Got you. Okay. Makes sense.
I think that was what the deal was. Caleb, I believe, was the one I made that with. Could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was something like that. It was a third involved in the deal somewhere, and he got Fields back, and I got Devontae Smith. So Fields, nice buy by him, but Devontae Smith is the one who helped me win the championship. But anyways, back to AJ's team. Need running backs. Easy to get running backs in this league for the most part. There's a number of teams. This is one of those leagues too, where there's 5 or 6 really strong contenders that no one wants to mess with, and 3 to 4 teams just absolutely tanking in this league. Like,
just go up to the analyzer and people will kind of pick it. It's hilarious.
Like we got 4 teams that are just completely garbage compared to like Danny's team, highly valuable. Flett's team coming out of a rebuild, really valuable. Jay Metal's team coming out of a rebuild. Jay
Metal's picks is insane. Look at that bar.
He has a bunch of picks, and his team is just basically stripped down to the studs plus a bunch of draft capital. Like literally look at 101, 104, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 112. Like just an insane collection of picks for him. So he's going to be pretty competitive pretty soon.
Hey, man. Yeah, no. By the way, if you guys are unfamiliar with the Tone Setters League, this is there's always stuff going on in this league is the best way I'll put it. It's a lot of fun in terms of entertainment purposes.
Yeah, karma keeps us all entertained with his with him losing full every wild card round of the playoffs every single year. It's a lot of fun. But anyways, AJ, you know what you got to do. You've been in this league a long time. This is, I believe, one of our longest standing dynasty leagues for sure. I think this is the 3rd year of it, 4th year of it potentially. Like it's been going on for a while.
Going into year 4, because I know for sure the first rookie draft I believe we had was 2023, because I had all of the 2023 rookie picks, and then that's when I was able to maneuver my team into a contender.
I think we might have drafted this before the 2022 rookie class, to be honest.
Did we?
I think so.
We might have.
It definitely wasn't 2023. It was, if anything, it was 2021 or 2022. Like it's an old league. I'm pretty sure it was 22 that we drafted this team.
So we drafted it going into the 2022 season.
Right.
So
anyways, full dynasty league. AJ's been in it for a while. We could probably move on to the next team here, which is from Mystery Meat, which just recently submitted this team.
Yep.
He said he feels like his team is sitting in a pretty good spot for the upcoming season, working on some big trades. Look at this league. He feels like he's in a pretty good spot when he's 20,000 points ahead of anybody else in his league. He said he's trying to acquire Justin Jefferson, feels like he's close with the package of Drake London and 104. Where are some other points / players I could look to improve his team?
First and foremost, understatement of the year, I feel pretty good where I'm at with this squad because, it's a 1 quarterback league. So I was going to say, oh, maybe you need a quarterback. No, it's a 1 quarterback league, and you have how many startup first round picks in a 1 quarterback league does he have on his team?
Gibbs, Neighbors, London, Harrison, Hall would all be kind of on the fringe, I would imagine, in a 1 quarterback.
Because keep in mind the quarterbacks are gonna go all above what 13 or 14 quarterbacks usually go in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, but still, Hall, Harrison, London might still be kind of end of first, early second kind of picks. But anyways, you also have 102 and 104 in addition to this team.
Yeah, good spot here. You mentioned the offer, so he said London plus the 104 for Justin Jefferson. What are your thoughts, A, on that offer, and B, given the state of his team, potentially making a move like that? Because I do think, again, 1 quarterback 104, keep this in mind. So you're not dealing with Cam Ward in that spot. You're assuming that the first 3 picks are going to be Genty, McMillan, and Omarion Hampton. So that spot, basically, for contextualizing it for you, would be what? Quinshon Judkins plus Drake London. Would you rather that opportunity bundle, or would you rather a Justin Jefferson knowing this spot?
I would rather the opportunity bundle. That might be a hot take. Because
in the start 7, I would take Jefferson.
If Hunter's included, we're talking more Tet McMillan or Omarion Hampton there at 104. So that's the other part of it that would factor in for me. But for me, I guess it would be Judkins or Emeka Egbuka there for him. Regardless, I think if you want to do this deal, if you want to give him 104 and Drake London for Justin Jefferson, I think he should have to give you something back. I don't know what you'd be really interested in. I mean, you're a competitive team. You could take Joe Mixon off of his hands if he's looking to rebuild. I think that would make some sense just to give you a little bit more juice on top of that deal, I think.
Yeah, it might be a little difficult knowing that he's got Kelsey as a starting tight end. He's got a couple quarterbacks he feels good about. Maybe he still thinks he's contending. That would be the only issue. But then again, it's like if he's already willing to do Drake London the 104 for Jefferson, I don't think it's going to take much more for you to potentially maneuver another piece in, because you can then make the case, well, if I'm giving you 104 in London, that could jumpstart your rebuild. So like,
yeah. But he might be doing it because he wants a running back, though, because he wants to try and contend, right? He might be trying to get 104 to get a running back. That's probably what he's trying to do.
And that would probably be the way. So if that's the case, maybe he doesn't give up a Mixon. So okay.
Yeah, I see. I mean, this guy right here has St. Brown and Collins. This guy has Jamar Chase and could use some help. He also has Bowers too. Like, you're in a position where you have so much liquidity that you could very easily afford to give up like a Drake London in the 102 or Drake London in the 104 for one of these top assets. I would personally rather do Drake London and the 104 for Jamar Chase, because this guy feels like he'd be more likely to do that because it looks like he's maybe kind of rebuilding more. And who knows, maybe you could get him to throw in another competitive piece like a Godwin or a, somebody like that, just to give you some more juice on top of that deal. And I'd personally be willing to do Drake London in the 104 straight up for Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I would too. And the same thing with Jefferson, same thing with Lamb. Like, I'd be comfortable doing it for that tier of receiver, knowing that you're in this situation. However, I will say we've been talking about the top 4 teams evaluation. At the end of the day, when you're trying to buy competitive assets, go look at the bottom feeders. Let's take a look at some of these bottom feeders here at the bottom of the league. Raiders, does he have anything? Probably not. I mean, if you really wanted to get who's your quarterback 2 right now? Can we go back up?
Yeah, he doesn't have a quarterback 2 at the moment. I mean,
right, it's one quarterback league.
Quarterback going for Jaden Daniels would definitely make some sense here.
Yeah, it is a 1 quarterback league, so I that's good context anyways. So yeah, if you wanted to go for a Daniels type, we can look at Buckers, see if he has maybe
JSN, maybe Burrow too. Burrow potentially.
Yeah, potentially. Ferkser. Okay, so it looks like all like the top running back and wide receiver assets kind of spread it across the top 5 or so teams in this league, from what
I mean, you could go after like a Bucky Irving potentially too. I just don't know. Like, I wouldn't want to give up like the 104 straight up for Bucky Irving when I could just re-roll into a rookie running back with more draft capital. This guy, you could go get Barkley from this guy. This would make some sense. I would give up the 104 straight up for Saquon in a probable heartbeat. So I would. This would be a move that I would probably make if I were in your position.
Because this guy does have the 103. He can make the case. I mean, if you want to get cheaper too, maybe you can make a bigger deal. Say, hey, listen, what is 104 plus? What wide receivers does he have? Can you go up to his wide receiver depth? Just kind of playing with it.
He's got bare wide receivers.
Yeah. Question for you. Do you think Waddle 104 in a piece can get you McCaffrey and Barkley?
I think you'd probably have to give
maybe
up
Flowers.
Yeah, maybe Flowers 104. Yeah, you'd have to give up. I think you'd have to give up more to get both of them. And who knows? Maybe he's like, because me and you have both seen this before. Like, when somebody decides they're rebuilding, sometimes they just fire sale their competitive assets, and he'd give you Barkley and McCaffrey for like 104 and Zay Flowers or something like that. But it's possible he'd want more for those guys and would only give you one of them. But in either case, he's a good trade target to go after because you're a competitive team and you could use either Barkley or McCaffrey. But Barkley would be the one that I would go after. Yeah, no, I would agree with you there. But overall, I mean, the fact that we're kind of just dreaming of some of these big time offers, like straight up, when you're in a 1 quarterback league and you have 5 green valuations at running back and wide receiver, you're in a good spot. Not to mention, I mean, you could even theoretically look at Trey McBride as a green valuation because he's tight end too. He's just listed as yellow right here. Yeah, and it's a start 7 league too. Like if you want to, like, 5 of your 7 already. Is there a huge difference between Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts or Jaden Daniels in terms of a 1 quarterback production? Probably not, but you could just make that upgrade because you have the assets to do that. You could make that upgrade, get another green wide receiver or green running back just because you feel like it. Like, how much? Here's the one thing I can't believe haven't mentioned yet. You pick 102. Like, the guy with the 101 surely could be in play to go get Genty with this team. Let me just find the guy with the 101 really quick. That's another thing too. We've been talking about how good your roster is without even contextualizing. You have so many picks. Okay, this guy's team sucks, man. He should he's smart, which he might not be. He might just want Genty. If he's smart and he has a lot of picks too, you could give him 102 and 104 for 101 and 108 or something or 111 even. I'd be willing to do given the strength of your team so far. Get Genty on this roster that you have because he's immediately going to give you 3 green running backs because he's currently our RB3 in Dynasty. Yeah.
And I guess like start 7, so you'd have obviously the quarterback and the tight end mixed in there. So then you'd have 5 starting roster spots between wide receiver and running back. I'm assuming 2 running back, 2 wide
You
receivers,
have
and
to
1 flex
bench
spot.
one of Harrison or Genty on any given week in that scenario.
Yeah, that kind of also makes me realize, like, yeah, whatever plus Murray can get you an elite quarterback at that point, just go solidify your starting lineup because start 7 PPR, no tight end premium. If you get green valuations across the board, I'm sorry, look at the valuations on the My Teams feature and tell me any team in your league is even sniffing you.
Yeah, go give somebody Kyler Murray, Jalen Warren, and Jalen Waddle, and go get Jaden Daniels for that, or go get Jalen Hurts for that, or go get somebody with a little bit more point production. But anyways, we don't need to spend too much more time on that team because it is in very good, very, very good shape here.
Yes,
New blood in the league this year. Shady Sands says, hope trade. He said trades are less like pulling teeth. Apparently, I guess it was a hard trade market before.
Hope trades,
Should I be? Yeah, literally. Should I be looking to make some moves or sit back until after the draft with my current selections? He said he's going to net running backs in the draft, but is there anything else he should be on the lookout for making this roster better? So it is a 2 quarterback and a 2 tight end league. So important context there that Kraft and Pitts are both starters for him. Michael Mayer, depth for him. Some of the other guys there, but yeah.
So quickly pointing out, so this would be, like you said, 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends. That's 4 roster spots. So then you're looking at 7 roster spots dispersed between running back and wide receiver. It's probably going to be a 2-2-3 setup, I believe, would be the math.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So we're looking at, in terms of starters right now, May and Lawrence, obviously your starters at quarterback. Right now, you do have a glaring need to potentially add another tight end. I would say if you have a 3 stack of, insert tight end here, Kraft and Pitts, I think that can at least suffice, especially if a guy like Michael Mayer was moved at the draft, maybe gets a more opportunity. I think you can suffice at tight end if you add one more starting caliber piece there. And then, like we said, you need 7 running backs and wide receivers. Chase Brown's going to be a starter. Ideally, those 4 top wide receivers would be your starters, and then maybe Ayuk when he comes back. You basically need to add about 2 roster players, but when you add Ashton Genty to the list, and along with the 104 and 107, you should be able to field not only a starting lineup, but probably go, what would that be, 9 deep at that point?
Yeah, and I think I'd be okay in a format like this, a full point tight end premium 2 tight end league. I'm very much comfortable taking Colston Loveland, probably, of the 2 of them, because you guys are going to see the tight ends to target and avoid. I believe it should probably already be live by now. Loveland specifically, I think, is a good target for that 107 pick. I think Warren might actually go as high as like a 104, 105, 106 Agreed. In this type of format. So it's possible that he might not be on the board for you. But yeah, getting a Loveland type at 107 to add in with Kraft and Pitts. And then let's say you grab Genty and Trevion Henderson or Amari and Hampton or something like that with the 101 and 104. You're going to be cooking with gas, dude. You're going to be ready to go because you have the quarterbacks locked down. Maybe you want to address the quarterback depth position, but at 201, who knows? Maybe Shadur slides to you there. He gets first round capital. He slides to you there at 201. Maybe you grab a Milrow, who's an early second round pick. Maybe you grab a Dart who slides into the back of the first round. Like, there's definitely possibilities for you to fill out that third quarterback spot. Even if you traded that 201 pick, you might be able to get a good third quarterback.
100%. It's because, like, honestly, when we're looking at this team, then at that point, you have the affordability, like you said, at 201, if you wanted to take a quarterback, or if you wanted to package your 201 plus 301 or your 201 plus round 2 pick and see if you can get back into that top 10-ish type of range, you have the affordability to really do what you want with this roster. I mean, obviously, when you're looking at the My Teams feature and you see just how much of an advantage you are on the rest of the league, that's kind of self-explanatory. But just explaining it out, you should be able to not only fill out your starting lineup, but have a couple really solid fundamental pieces of depth after this rookie draft.
Let me ask you a production bundle question here. So you're obviously going to take Genty at 101.
Yes.
Would you rather have, let's say, Amari and Hampton or Trevion Henderson, just like a good running back option at 104, Colston Loveland at 107, and another running back at 201, or let's say a early second round Jackson Dart / Jalen Milrow? Or would you rather just take Cam Ward at 104, grab 107 Loveland and or a running back, and then the other position at 201? Like, because the other thing too is, like, if this league market doesn't really understand the scoring format, it's possible that Warren and Loveland go in the range like a regular rookie draft where they go like kind of 1-2 turn. I would say it's probably unlikely, but it's possible that if people, because me and you have seen this, like even in leagues with tight end premiums, sometimes people kind of chicken out at the position and they go, I'm not going to take one until people start a run on them or whatever. Again, it's a 2 tight end start, so it's probably unlikely. But you also even could talk me into like a Harold Fannin or a Mason Taylor as high as 201 and pass on Colston Loveland at 107.
Nah, I can't do that. I just think those two are way too big of projections. A, B. We've actually gotten comments on non-tight end premium single tight end leagues that like people are like, oh yeah, I'm taking Warren at 104, or I'm taking Loveland in the mid first. Like basically, whenever we do a mock draft, the one thing that people always say is, oh, the tight ends are going too low. So especially in a 2 tight end start, full tight end premium, I just think it's almost a dream, a 1% chance of happening that one of those guys fell to you at the 201. You would have to take them at the 107. I was going to say too, in this specific league format, I do think either would be worth it at the 104, knowing that you have to start 2 tight ends and knowing that you're getting 2 PPR. Like, it's just such a big difference maker at the tight end position valuation. Almost the reason why we don't play in leagues like this personally. We just like having cheaper tight ends to be able to
I hate
pick up
tight
whenever
ends.
we
Everyone
want.
knows that.
I hate tight ends, but like specifically in a format like this where they matter so much, like you could convince me that could 2 tight ends be gone by the top 5? Like I really think that could be the case. Now, somebody may ask, do I take one at the 104? I wouldn't, because I love the valuation of an Omar or a Travis Hunter there. Assuming, I mean, Ted McMillan might be the
potentially
102.
could be there.
One of those 3 making it to you at the 104. And I would rather roll the dice and hope one falls at the 107. But if one falls to you at the 107, I think it's absolutely justified that it should be the pick.
Yeah, and you could also talk me into potentially a production bundle of, let's say you like Loveland and Warren are gone at 107. Like they both go 1.5, 1.6 or something like that.
Yeah.
And you, because of that, get 107 Cam Ward as your third quarterback, or you get 107 Trevion Henderson in a good landing spot, or even Hampton or McMillan or somebody like that were to fall to you at 107 because those tight ends get pushed up the board. And then maybe you could send your 201 away for David Njoku, or maybe 201 plus something for David Njoku on the open market. Like Njoku's just the go-to default answer for a buy low tight end for me, because he just is always undervalued. So I would also be okay doing something like that.
Because I think that was the other thing too. It's like, keep in mind, you're not pigeonholed to picking at 201, 301, because you also have that 2026 round 2 pick from Oscar. And if we look at Oscar's valuation, can we take a look at the My Teams feature where he's listed Oscar? So we're looking at what, the 4th best team. Let's just say that's about a mid to late 2026 second, give or take.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like he's got a pretty solid looking team. He actually has David Njoku as well. So
I mean, who knows? Maybe you offer him his second back and he gives you Njoku. Like, you never know that. Like,
yeah,
it might cost a little bit more on top, but
Njoku, if I'm going to be called the tight end hater, we're saying he's worth a late second on the open market here in a 2 tight end league. David Njoku is worth more than that.
That's why I said maybe you have to add on top, but like regardless, like that would be the type of direction I go. Maybe it costs you that 2026 round 2, 301, and plus you add like a Jalen Coker or something like that because he really wants like a young receiver piece. You know what I mean? Like regardless, though, you should inquire about an Njoku from that guy and leverage his 1-2 back to him.
So I would be in the minority here, and I understand that, but I would also be just totally fine with this tight end core going into the year. Like this current tight end core as it's constructed, even in a 2 tight end start, full premium, 1 tight end premium, I'd still be fine with it personally. And I would probably
gotta add one.
Maybe, but I would probably go with the cheapest possible option I can, whether it's selling the 201 for a veteran like a Jake Ferguson or somebody like that, or selling the 301 maybe gets you like a Hunter Henry even potentially. Like I'd be cool just doing that.
Well, see, I think you need 3 strong options and another option you could throw in a pinch. And even if we're wish casting that Michael Mayer is the guy that you can throw in a pinch because maybe he gets dealt this year, I still think you need another starter. I do.
Yeah, I think that's a totally fair assessment. I think Michael Mayer will be the new Dallas Goedert when he was what he was early in his career, which is he's like the most elite tight end handcuff in fantasy.
Can we talk about this too? By the way, there's been rumblings that the Eagles might trade away Dallas Goedert. Like, could you imagine if they traded away Dallas Goedert and then they threw a 4th at like Michael Mayer?
Oh, I would love to see Michael Mayer in a position. Like, can we get Michael Mayer in a position where he can be a starting tight end, please?
Yeah, amen. I mean, we both liked him a lot, especially you. Like, he's a good prospect. People cannot convince me otherwise.
No, and I mean, in tight ends to target and avoid, he still ranks as close to, like, him and Kincaid and Laporta were like neck and neck as far as the best tight end prospect in that class.
And as crazy as it sounds now, because people now will be like, oh, what the fuck? There's no way people actually thought about that. But when Michael Mayer was coming out, there was like a real conversation like, oh, who's going to end up being the better tight end? Michael Mayer in this year or potentially Brock Bowers next year? Now, obviously, Brock Bowers, the year that he had the following year, when you combine his whole profile, had a better profile. And I mean, likewise, the NFL viewed him as such as to where he went in the draft. But like people legitimately in the Devy circles had a conversation because they were 2 very, very productive tight ends from an early onset.
Dude, you and I are old enough to remember when the 2023 class was hyped up back in 2020 as, oh, you got to tank that 2023 pick for Bijan Robinson. You got to tank that pick for Jahmyr Gibbs. Who was the third name out of people's mouths? Michael Mayer as potentially a top player in that class.
Yeah.
I mean, people talked about Kayshon Boutte and stuff too. But anyways, that class was heralded as very good, that 2023 class. And Michael Mayer was a big part of that because he was good from jump. Freshman, sophomore, junior season, he was an unreal prospect.
Yeah, like this guy had 450 yards as a true freshman, 840 and 809 in his final 2 years in college. Like the guy was just a really good fundamental football. The fact that he even went in the second round, I feel like was kind of a surprise at the time because people said, well, with this profile, like this was, I believe, what the Sam Laporta year.
Yep.
So
Commanders took Emmanuel Forbes that year, I believe, in the first round, but they were heavily linked to Michael Mayer in the first round. I remember that.
I remember that too. But regardless, you're in a good spot, and hopefully Mayer does become something for you.
Yes. Anyway, side Michael Mayer tangent aside. Again, hopefully he gets dealt this offseason because I feel very, very good about him as a player. Anyways, let's move to the end of this video because we are now to the end of the teams. Again, if you guys do want your team broken down on Dynasty Decisions, all you have to do is you can purchase a review, skip the line, use promo code FSE, and we'll break you down on Dynasty Decisions. But drop your Flock username down below. If you use promo code FSE, you will have a chance to win a free voucher, and we can send vouchers out to you. And let us know too. Be like, hey, I've been watching Dynasty Decisions for 2 years and I've never had a team broken down. I would love a voucher. Here's my username. We'll probably give you one realistically. So definitely leave that down below in the comments if you guys are interested in that. And of course, check out Flock Fantasy for not just Dynasty Decisions, but our Dynasty rankings, our rookie rankings, our draft guide. All of that stuff, prospect model stuff, all of that is available over on Flock Fantasy. Use code FSE when you sign up. 7 days free, 6 months for free when you sign up annually. You get a free team review voucher when you sign up annually, and that'll cover you wall to wall pretty much for this year's draft class and for next year's draft class if you signed up annually right now. So with that being said, like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed. Peace out, and we'll talk to you soon.